No worries.
Yeah, all right, I'm good now. All right, Katie. All right, thanks for doing this.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this is awesome, man. So, so obviously your name is Katie, and I was just thinking, because I don't know, like, you look like a Katie too.
Oh, thank you.
You ever see people and like they don't look like their name?
Yes, all the time. All the time. That's actually so I was in social work right prior to starting Cam Girl work. So I've seen like all sorts of shades and I've met all sorts of characters. Sometimes people come in with these names and you're just like, what? No. Um,
Yeah, wow, social work and then into cam girl work. So
and
that's probably pretty beneficial, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, and I also have, now that I'm doing cam girl work, I also kind of moonlight as a stagehand and theater assistant. So I do a lot of like lighting and theatrical work, which also really comes in handy.
Oh shit, that's cool. Is it,
Yeah.
so is that what you want to like do? Is that like get into that kind of stuff?
So I'm in school for biology right now, but it pays really well. And I've always loved theater. I'm actually from Las Vegas. So like shows and performances were a huge part of growing up. I live in Philadelphia now, but I always loved kind of the pizzazz of these big theatrical performances. And then I kind of got the opportunity to work in some situations and I was like, how do I do this more often?
Yeah, that's awesome,
Pretty
man.
cool.
Yeah. Shit. Yeah, that's really cool. I didn't even know. Like, yeah, I didn't even think about like Philly. Of course, Philly's a major hub, right? Isn't it?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And Philly, DC, all those kinds of areas. So I do a lot of traveling, and it's great. And because I'm doing all this stuff part-time that's paying me significantly more than social work was, I've been able to benefit a lot of nonprofits. I'm doing volunteer work, which I love. I have so much freedom. I'm doing better in my classes. It's just been phenomenal to me, which is why I've been singing it from the rooftops. Everyone's like, oh my God, being a cam girl, it's so disgusting. I'm like, dude, I wouldn't say that it's easy, but I get to be at home at my house, set hours that work for me on a schedule that works for me. I'm in control of the situation. If there's something that you don't want to do, you say no and you don't do it. If there's someone that you don't like, there's ways that you can block and ban them. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do,
That
and
yeah,
kind of
sure. That
so
wow, that's yeah. It seems like you know, like you got some fulfilling shit going on. Whoa.
yeah. And I wouldn't have been able to do that otherwise. My hair was falling out in clumps in the shower. I was working like 75 hours a week just trying to keep up, and I still wasn't able to make the mortgage on my house. And I donated all of my time. I put my heart into this place, into these people, and then I ended up getting fired like 2 weeks before Christmas.
That's nice. Yeah.
And I was just like, cool. After I'd been working for this company for like 6 years, busting my ass constantly, I was so stressed all the time. I'd missed countless holidays with my family and my friends, birthdays. My entire life was this work, and they fired me. And I was like, cool. And right before Christmas too, right? So I was like, shit, now what am I going to do? And one of my friends told me, she was like, well, I did some cam girl work and it seems a little silly. And she was like, but you'd be surprised. You can actually make decent money at it. It's not so bad. And I was like, whatever. I'm not so proud. I'll give it a try. Like, I don't think I'm like, what's wrong with it? I don't see a big issue. We get free porn all the time, so we might as well monetize ourselves.
Sure,
Um,
absolutely. Yeah. So what? You lost your job after breaking your neck and being completely stressed out, and then that's how you got into camming from your friend?
it is. Yep. And I started out on like, well, I still am there on like Chaturbate and my free cams just to kind of get my feet wet. And I was surprised at how well I did pretty quickly. And it was fairly easy. So I just sat down and it wasn't hard to get, and I mean that in the fact that like For me, it came naturally. It wasn't hard to like sit down in a room and talk with people. I think my social work background came in handy because I can communicate with people. I can sort of tell what someone needs when they're coming to me. Some people want to talk and have a conversation and they want more of a girlfriend experience. And some people are trying to get off in 5 minutes or less and they want to get the hell out of here. So you kind of have to be able to gauge your audience and like where you're at so you can know how to interact with them a little bit better.
Dude, you're like built for camming.
Oh yeah, like it was such an easy transition for me. It was a little bit uncanny.
It
And again,
seems like it. Like you just seem like, you just seem so like natural and real. Like it's just, it's,
and growing up, people always told me I had a good porn operator voice. I can all of a sudden just turn it on really quick. And my customer service voice sounds a whole lot like a phone sex operator. And there we go. So,
yeah.
it comes. And honestly, most of the time I've got this background and I do all these crazy lighting productions and like all this stuff for work. And then with this, I get to be a little lazy. I come home and I set up my ring light. And a lot of the times I'll cam from this couch where I'm sitting right now. And, you don't have to get crazy or fancy to start out. And when I did get an hourly wage, I ended up making like $80 an hour roughly just starting out from right here. And it was so nice, so easy. There's been some weirdos. There's some I've gotten some requests. There have been some situations. Some of them have been fun too, though, in ways I didn't expect. One of my favorite role plays was, oh God, what is her name? From Willy Wonka, the blueberry, Violet Beauregard, I think, or something.
I don't know.
But you know what?
Wait, that's what you did?
Yeah, I put on a purple shirt. And there was a pillow and I shoved a big pillow under myself and I just like tucked my cheeks out and I rolled around a bunch and I don't know, I think I spewed out some shit about being a blueberry or, expanding and wanting to stop and having to squeeze me out and
squeeze me out.
I was, you know what? It was really fun. I actually, I got to have a really, it was strange, definitely bizarre, but you know what? Who am I to yuck your yum? And I had a lot of fun doing it.
Right. So, yeah. So that's what you're like into. Like you're into performing, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I love it. I love role play. Role play is one of my favorites. I also get told a lot. One of the biggest things I hear is that I look like someone people know. I find I've kind of got that girl next door vibe. So I look like their husband's friend or their girlfriend's cousin. And,
right. Yeah. Not just the girl next door. Like you could be pretty much anyone. Like
I've got like a very down to earth. I don't wear a lot of makeup. I would typically wear something, a little more lingerie but this is a typical look that I would do in the evening. I'm a very natural type of girl. So, I guess I'm just more relatable to like people in their lives. I'm not quite this like out of reach, super, super gorgeous, stunning model on Instagram.
Some dirty slut.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm just this real girl that could be your neighbor or your boss's sister or whatever. I've gotten the weirdest request. But you know what? And some people have had boyfriends that I'm not sure they know they've had. They'll come on and they'll be like, oh, you look just like my ex-girlfriend. And I'm like, I don't think I do. I might look like a girl that you know, but I think this is your first time ever talking to a real life human girl, and that's okay.
Right, yeah. Yeah, so you could read that shit too. Yeah, that's interesting because like a lot of newer girls like I said, you seem like you're built for this because like so many girls like they're starting out, they don't know how to because like it's a whole thing performing on camera. Obviously,
Yes.
like right, like it's different.
It is, and it's weird when you have. It's a different performance aspect outside of like a theater performance because you're kind of like in your house and you're not getting breaks. There's no curtain call. I mean, you can like run to the bathroom if you need to or whatever, but like you've just got people watching you. If you've got to blow your nose, if you cough, You know, like I've definitely like sneezed too hard or coughed or burped, and it's not something like I'm just sitting here. I can't help it. I'm drinking my coffee or whatever. I just ate my lunch, and but you know now 3,000 people have just seen me, and you kind of have to get over yourself a little bit. I think that's what kind of like OnlyFans work and stuff too. Any type of online sex work you have to get over, like everyone's so worried about their curves or their blemishes, and like no matter how big or small you are or if you have all the acne in the world, someone's going to pay money to see your asshole. I mean, that's just how it is.
Well, yeah, everyone has their different tastes, right? I mean, that's
Exactly. So, and people want you to be real, so it's definitely different to get used to like sitting there and just being, it's kind of like being on 3,000 first dates that you know are going to end in you getting laid.
right, yeah.
But it is a very like, and I can see where it would be hard to navigate that if you've never been in a social situation. There's also a lot of scammers out there. There's a lot of people that are set on wasting your time and trying to get as much information out of you as they can. And that's something you have to keep an eye out for too, because they're, in addition to them being, you know, a nuisance, they're going to keep you away from people that are actually going to pay you and want to be there for your time.
Right. So like what you're talking, because like there's so many different types of scammers in this game. What type of scammer are you talking about right now?
Oh, there's all sorts. I think the biggest one you get is someone will reach out to you and they want to be your sugar daddy. And but in order for them to be your sugar daddy, you have to do XYZ first and then give them your PayPal account. But oh wait, now you have to pay $25 because as if you've never, you know, and it's just like, come on, man. And then there's people but I swear there's like bots on there sometimes because I'll be talking to someone and I'm like, you're not even like, you'll have a conversation. It's like, hi, where are you from? What's your mom's name? You know, where did you grow up? And I'm like, these are very weird, specific questions that you're asking.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And
You're definitely going to try to steal. That's why it's so important that that girls are using a burner email, that, you know, something that you're only using for your cam girl work and is not associated to any other bank accounts or anything for the matter, especially social, like your normal, typical social media.
That's a great point. Yeah, that's a really great point. I didn't even think of that. Yeah.
You know, these hackers can come in, they'll get into your site, they'll hack into your email. Now suddenly they're in your bank account, they're in your school documents. So you've got to be careful with that stuff, and definitely be careful. You know, when people ask me where I'm from, sometimes I'll say Philadelphia, depending on the vibe. Sometimes I just kind of say East Coast. Because, you know, you even have to watch that. You have to be a little bit careful. I do put my full name out there, Katie Erickson, but it's a very basic. There's about 20 million Katie Ericksons in the world.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And half of them probably have my same birthday. So
yeah, and at least a quarter of them are living in the Philadelphia area too. So that
exactly, you know it's hard.
Yeah,
and I've got, you know, but you got to be careful. And in addition to that, they not only is it annoying, but then they take up all your time, and you've been having a conversation with this person who's now not only not giving you any money, but they've been keeping you away from people who actually wanted to see a show.
Right. Yeah, and that screws everyone.
Yeah, exactly. I almost exclusively, as a rule of thumb, unless you're tipping me pretty well, I don't do private messages. Sometimes I'll like check them and I'll verbally respond. Like I will take a peek, but I'm not going to sit there and type back and forth with you if you're not making it worth my while a little bit. There's got to be some give and take. I love giving personal attention. I will totally do that, but you got to give a little bit of incentive.
Right. And you're speaking specifically for Chaturbate?
Chaturbate, my free cams. One of my favorite sites is actually Streamate. I find I've got some of the most success there. And I feel like it's kind of slept on, you know, especially on Reddit and stuff. I never see anyone talking about Streamate.
Yeah, that's a rare one. Yeah, I talked to someone else that does Streamate and is successful on Streamate. And yeah, it's like the greatest thing.
Yeah, I make more money on Streamate than I do on Chaturbate and my free cams combined.
Wow.
So I kind of have a habit now that I've only been doing this maybe about 6 months now, but now that I feel like I'm more in the swing of things, I kind of bounce between all three. I see how the vibe is going. Sometimes I'll stream one, two of them at once and just kind of pause as I go into private chats.
So how do you do that? I've heard that question, people asking, like, how do you stream on multiple sites?
I literally just split my screen. So I have a laptop. It's pretty basic. And I just kind of cut my screen in half and I log into one on one side and one on the other. I keep an eye on the chats. I keep my sound on. The token sounds are different for each site. So I
Ah.
can kind of, and then with the split screen, you can see everything that's happening at once. So again, I pay attention to the key is, where most of your money's at and where your loyal clients are. So I might have both sites running, but maybe I'm paying more attention to Chaturbate for 5 minutes and now Streamate's getting a little more attention. Someone pulls me into a private chat, so I pause on the other site and focus on you have to kind of, if you're good at like managing computer programs as is, I had to do a lot of input. I did a lot of programming work with my previous positions. So it's pretty easy for me to toggle back and forth. I find a lot of the times people who play video games, and who are even like I'm horrible at social media, but even people who are really good at social media, like they've got a pretty good swing of that toggling back and forth. So you'd be surprised how easy it is. And I haven't had an issue with my camera lagging on any site, and you just kind of have to keep your sound on and make sure you're paying attention.
Right, yeah, because once you get in the swing of doing it, like you'll get used to it.
So
But also like technical the technical aspect of it, like when you stream on both sites, it streams through the same camera and microphone.
yep. So, and it's beneficial in a way because, I'll get tipped on both sites for doing the same show.
Sure,
So,
yeah. Because
so
well, because I do this other thing, and I do sometimes I live stream going on Omegle, but Omegle, for maybe it's just Omegle or whatever, like you can't use the same camera and microphone. So like I got two cameras set up and two microphones set up so I can do both. Like have OBS running for the live show that streams everywhere, and then Omegle, which is separate. But
right.
you don't have to worry about that with
Nope. I just use Google Chrome and I just pull the websites up in a split screen version, and I allow my microphone and camera to both sites and I haven't had any issues.
oh, that's good.
Yeah, it's super easy and it's convenient. It's more profitable for me. You do have to be able to manage things a little bit better, but that's again, once you get the hang of it, it's fairly easy. None of this is rocket science. It's definitely not easy. It's time consuming. It's a little bit difficult on your body sometimes. But it's the actual process itself isn't too difficult to get down with. And once you get in the swing of things, I mean, I've been able to make my bills, and it's again allowed me to be able to do things that I love again and travel. I'm doing better in school, which is a huge thing for me. As I'll have a degree. I turned through camming just in a matter of months. I was able to expedite my semesters and my courses. I've turned a 4-year degree into a 2-year degree, and I'll have a degree in biological sciences and biomedical research in spring of 2024. And I wouldn't have been able to do that without this. I was struggling to get by on my classes before. But now I've got time to study, and again, it's all thanks to the fact that I can make $80 an hour, work 5 hours a day, and make more than I was making, working 80 plus hours a week.
That sounds amazing. Like
Yeah.
like that's like that's the dream, right?
Right. And that's why I wish, not that I, hope that the market gets flooded, but I've been wanting to reach out and talk. I tell all my friends all the time, I'm like, just shake your ass a little bit on camera with me. And I swear to God, like you're going to quit your day job and we'll be able to go hang out all the time. It'll be fun. And everyone they think I'm crazy. And I'm like, I have to be honest, I struggled for a bit because I was applying to other places, obviously in between, and I got offered a job that was going to pay me like $46 an hour with health insurance and, all the bells and whistles. And I just sit and think whether or not I wanted to take that and go, or whether I wanted to keep doing this. And ultimately I chose to keep doing this, and I turned down that position. And that felt kind of unreal and unheard of because I never would have felt stable enough to do that before.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you seem pretty well put together. You seem fucking like you seem like you don't have a lot of stress.
Oh, yeah. I try. Not anymore. Not anymore.
Well, I know doing it's stressful. I mean, I know it takes a lot of work. Absolutely. But I mean, you seem just like chill with everything. Like, like this is what it is. I know what I'm doing.
It's as soon as I want from someone, again, who is like crying in the shower every night with hair falling out, to someone who wakes up in the morning feeling like a Disney princess. I swear to God, like I do yoga and I meditate and I eat breakfast. I didn't know what breakfast even was, a year and a half ago. So I'm like my friends and family have noticed that like, you're just so happy. And I'm like, yes, it's because it's given me the freedom again. It's so, and that's why like I hesitate. I don't mean to, when I say it's easy, I don't mean to say that it's easy, but like it was such a good decision for me, and it's made my life so much better. It's enhanced my experience. And so what? I'm using my dildo online with some men while they jerk off. I'm doing a service for everyone involved. I'm getting off, they're getting off, I'm getting paid. What's the problem?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like I don't know what the big hang up is. And here's what kills me too is a lot of the times I'll be talking to these guys online and they're like, yeah, I come and I play with you because I've got a wife or, I've got a girlfriend, and they're not open and they won't do this and they won't do that. And if people were just comfortable being open about their kinks with one another and communicating a little bit, I'm like, dude, it would, because it's not, everyone's into something a little bit weird. Everyone's got something they like. I'm bisexual. I prefer, although most of my clients are men, I prefer to actually date women. I like sleeping with men, but when it comes to relationships, I prefer to be with a woman. I'll have sex with men during that time. I'll use dildos, but like, so for me, something that really turns me on is watching other women smoke weed. I like watching other women smoke joints. That's not something that, some people might think that's really bizarre, but everyone's got something. And if we could just be more open towards one another. All my friends are like, oh, you talk to all these weird guys online. I'm like, they're not weird guys. They're just guys.
Right.
They're your brothers, some of your dads.
Yeah, they might be. They might actually be. You don't know.
Like even maybe some of your boyfriends, Like, I'm talking to them about the shit that you just won't be like have a conversation about. I have men that will actually sit and they just want to talk. They'll take me into a private chat just to have a conversation over a cup of coffee because they want to talk about the things that turn them on and their girlfriends aren't open to it. I'm like, okay, I can be a sex therapist for a few minutes. Sure, let's chat.
Right.
And the only thing I cannot get down with is when a newbie mistake that I did make. Someone asked me about age play. And I thought that I was assuming that I get a lot, I'm 28 years old. A lot of the times I get that I look a lot younger than I am. So I was assuming it was an older gentleman who was wanting to be like an 18-year-old, thinking that, their daughter or their daughter's friend, something along those lines. But they actually wanted me to pretend to be a child. And it wasn't something they told me until we got into the private chat. And I don't mean like 16. I mean like 7 years old specifically. Yeah. And I was like,
what?
No, absolutely not. My friend was like, I can deal with a lot of kinks, but that's something I am not comfortable with. We cannot do that. And it was a whole issue. They're like, well, I want my money back because you didn't give me the show that I was promised. I'm like, well, buddy, you should be a little bit more clear when you're requesting that you want age play, that you're requesting something more along the lines of pedophilia and you want me to be a child. I understand that I am a 28-year-old woman, but when you're asking me to role play in the form of a 7-year-old, that's an uncomfortable position to put someone in when they're ill prepared.
Yeah, I don't think you can prepare for that. There's no preparing.
And don't get me wrong, like I would much rather these people who are into this sort of thing have someone online pretend to be a 7-year-old than attempt to actually sleep with a 7-year-old. Like, very good move. Definitely would rather you do that than actually going out and trying to sleep with a child or using like child pornography. But I'm like, dude, come on. Like, you can't use the term age play, because so now anytime someone asks me if I'm into age play, I have to be like, well, I need to be a little bit more specific. What are you looking for?
What age? That's,
Right.
God.
I have to do a lot of, I can 18 and above. I do, age play 18 and above, my friends.
Yeah, that's fucking, yeah. Shit, that does seem like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that. Like, what, but would that, probably not, but like, would that stop pedophiles from being pedophiles? Probably not, but.
Well, and that, like the sociological aspect of me, like my immediate guttural reaction was, well, that's gross. But then I thought about it a little bit and like why I had that reaction. And I was like, well, I mean, here's the thing. We talk about kinks all the time and how people can't really help what they're into. A lot of the times sexual kinks and sexual connections are a result of things that happened in your childhood traumas, childhood experiences. That's what a lot of, so, something might have happened, again, not in any way, shape, or form condoning pedophilia.
No.
But, like, some of these people might have had traumatic experiences that have caused them to have these kinks. There might, hopefully, probably not acting on them, but having those kinks doesn't inherently, there's that whole thought perspective about, having a thought isn't a crime. It's acting on the thought that's the crime. So they're asking someone to play out a mental situation. I don't know. It's something that I'm not comfortable with. But again, like, I would rather you have this experience with a consenting adult online than attempt to find, child pornography online or harass a child or assault a child, God forbid. So I don't know.
I wonder if because nobody's probably doing research on this, because how do you do research on this? But someone should do research on this. Like, get a college or something to do research on this, because like it's like like with the with like kids going to like after school programs and everything like that. I mean, it's in that realm, kind of, maybe.
Right.
I'm not trying to solve the pedophilia problem, but someone should do it.
Right, like I can't solve the world's problems, and I'm certainly not the morality police, so like I can't say what is or isn't right. But I was like, I don't know, maybe not, maybe it could have been a viable solution. But you got to tell someone before you throw them into that situation. You can't just have them, face down, ass up, and then ask them to be a 7-year-old. You got to prepare a bitch. That's just
insane.
Yeah, I think I like audibly gasped and probably looked like a groundhog when I popped my head up because I was so confused by the situation. I was like, wait a minute, what? No.
Yeah, you would never expect that.
No, I'm like, I've got my nipples pierced in a tattoo, bro. Like, I can't be a 7. I'm like, that, no.
It's so weird.
Again, maybe it could be a solution as long as it's an 18-year-old consenting adult.
Someone should do research on that. That's all I know.
I agree.
But
I will not be the research dummy in this situation now.
No.
Not volunteering for not volunteering for clinical trials here.
Yeah, definitely not, man. But like, what's some? Because like, yeah, you were saying about like kinks. Like, everybody got weird kinks. There's what's weird though. That's like subjective, right? Like, what you think is weird might not be weird to this guy or whatever, right? I mean,
exactly. And I'm in the as long as no one's getting hurt, and BDSM as a whole realm of its own. I can dabble in it lightly, you know, depending on I've had people who are like, I really want you to slap your own face for me. And I'm like, look, I can get into pain in some regards, but I'm not slapping my face for you. I'm not big on the degradation of it, you know.
That's just awkward. How you
Right. I'm like, well,
smack
you know,
yourself?
where you slap your face on camera hard. I'm like, no, I won't.
No,
I'll slap my ass.
yeah, but no matter how you slap yourself in the face, that's not gonna look right. You know, I don't know.
Right. No,
It's
I'm
just
like, also just why? No.
so what would you consider like the weirdest thing someone's asked you to do?
The weirdest one was definitely probably the blueberry situation. I have been asked to insert some strange objects in my vagina. And that's something that I typically don't do because the inner medical student in me is just like, ew, no yeast infections. Um, but yeah, I get asked a lot of time and very, very weird objects. There's been food objects. A lot of people also want you to insert things in your ass and then put them in your mouth. And again, the bacteria, the
Uh,
like ass to mouth, I'm like, no.
no, you don't go ass to mouth. We've
Yeah,
all known
no.
that.
Yeah, no. And I'm like, and again, you know, you're into what you're into, but that's a really, really great way to end up with some awful bacteria.
It's so gross.
Right. Like, I don't want to be on antibiotics for this. You know, that's going to cost me more than the session with you.
Right,
So,
exactly,
like,
exactly.
no.
So yeah, but you ever think like some of them like it's not even sexual, like they just want to like not like the degrading part or anything like that, but just for fun. You think everyone ever does it like, like, yeah, stick that up your ass.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes it can be kind of a power situation, which I can understand. You know, you've got someone on camera, and that's also another thing that can be, you know, I find there's two very specific ways of doing this. You can have a show that you put on, or you can sort of, you know, paint by numbers and play by what your clients are asking of you. And sometimes when you're just doing what your clients are asking of you and you don't have something set in your mind of what this show is going to be, it can put you in some weird situations where a lot of the times power play gets involved. I've had it where guys are like, you know, stand up, do 10 jumping jacks, sit down, finger yourself. I've had guys get very specific and they'll be like, you know, I want you to take your two fingers and press up really hard for 2 seconds and then down and show me your fingers so I can watch you do it. And it's definitely just, it's all about the power. They want to be able to imagine that they are taking control of you in this way. And it's not necessarily like a domination or, you know, they just want to feel like they have that sexual power in the
Hmm.
moment. And I find that happens a lot. And if you're not
Ah.
careful, like people will get you, and you'll have someone who gets you naked, wants you to bend over, shove a dildo up your ass, and they've got you in a private chat for 2 minutes or less. So you kind of have to have an idea in your head, especially as a new cam girl. You're like, all right, this is how things are going to start. And then if you decide to let them take the reins, you can do that. But it's always kind of a good idea to have an idea in your head and talk with them. A lot of the times, you know, people will ask, they're not shy, what are you going to do in this show for me? Well, and you can set your tip menus. That's the important thing to remember. You know, you're in 100% control. So you know, when these people are coming in, and if a big thing too is men liking to be called daddy. And I'm 50-50 on that. I don't always like if you just come right hot out of the bat, you're throwing a token at me here and there and you want me to call you and daddy. Absolutely not. Because number one, that's not daddy behavior. And number two, like you're just to me like that is something that I do with someone I'm comfortable with and someone that I'm giving a little bit more control over me. And I'm not giving you that control over me right now. You have to be respectful. You have to be mindful. And if things are going well and I so decide, then we can take it and then I'll start to call you daddy and you can take the reins a little bit there. But Some of these guys they'll have you in free chats, calling them daddy, sucking on dildos, doing all sorts of like you're their dancing monkey. Um, and they're not tipping you any tokens. They're not doing anything. And it's all for power. And like you said, sometimes I do think it's for just them to sit there and laugh. They're like, what can I make this girl do?
Right.
Some
Yeah.
people out there are just mean, you know?
Oh, absolutely.
So, and you figure it out quick when you're not paying attention to them.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah. That's when you're
Oh,
fucking,
oh yeah.
yeah.
And, but some people are just cruel and some people are just mean. And they'll log on and they'll just say things and do things. And that's where like the block and ban comes in handy really fast. I block and ban people at the drop of a hat. I don't think twice about it. There's no sure. One guy told me that I sounded I had like just coughed or something and tried to say a word, and he said that I sounded mentally challenged and he thought I was autistic. I was like, even if I was, everyone's beautiful. Everyone deserves to be loved. Like, there's no hate here. Like, everyone's welcome. You can come and play with me under any circumstances. And he said something along the lines of even those inferior apes. And I was just like, okay, block and ban. Like, no, get no room. There's no hate. There's no discrimination, even if it's not towards me. Like, you got to be respectful in these spaces. And as a model, some girls use moderators. I prefer not to do that. I don't like to, again, I'm a little type A, so I don't like to give someone else that power and that control over the chat. I want to be there and I want to see it. So it makes things a little tougher. Sometimes I have to keep things a little bit smaller, but it's just easier and it keeps it, I try to keep people, and there's a lot of people that have become my friends that come in and see me every time I log on. We chat, I remember their names. We have a good time. I genuinely enjoy their company. And that's the type of community that I'm trying to cultivate, where people can feel safe. Everyone can feel safe. You can come and share your kinks with me. Doesn't matter if you've got, some weird, disability or any disability. Doesn't matter if your, dick is an inch. You can come and you can play here. You can talk. Small dicks matter too. Like, it's fine.
Some things matter. I like that. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're on the, because like everyone on the internet, because it's all anonymous, everyone wants to be a fucking, of course they're all projecting,
Oh, yeah.
It's so pathetic.
Oh, yeah. And it'll go from, oh my God, you're so beautiful, you're a goddess, to you've got the tiniest tits I've ever seen. God, you're ugly. You're not talking to me, blah, 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 blah. I'm just like, okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
like with stuff like that, with these, these assholes and everything, is that what you do? You just like, you just like, whatever. Is that your attitude towards it?
Sometimes I don't even bother blocking and banning them because the people that come and see me regularly will take care of it for me. I find a lot of the time people will come to and they'll be like, leave her alone. Like, she's stunning. You're lucky to, she wouldn't look the dirt, or you couldn't lick the dirt off her heel, get out of here. Blah, blah. So I don't even have to worry about it a lot of the times. And I've got pretty thick skin. So if you're having a good time, and maybe that's your kink too, maybe you just need to talk shit to me for a few minutes. That as long as if it gets too ridiculous, I block you. If it's just a sentence or two here and there, I might say fuck it, and you can still see my tits anyway if they happen to come out. You're welcome. Like,
Right. Yeah, and like with those guys, you can usually tell, like, you could tell what, within
oh
a few times they say something, what they're, where they're coming from, right?
Exactly. And inside, I'm like, the only woman who really truly the last woman to genuinely see your penis was probably your mother. So it's fine. Like, you can be hateful towards me. That's it's okay, man. Like, that's the type of behavior for someone who hasn't gotten his dick sucked in a very long time. I get it. You've got some pent up rage. It's okay.
See, that's a great attitude to have. Do you ever go at them? You ever like fight with them?
Sometimes I play with them a little bit, and I'll just kind of, and it doesn't ever really bother me, but it's fun to poke a little bit at the bear. Sometimes it's the scammers too. I like to have fun with them when I can tell. I've sent like fake bank information and stuff, or yeah, I've sent pictures of like I don't know, just like big hairy balls that I find on Google, and and so sometimes I fuck with people a little bit, just 'cause, especially if it's kind of slow and I don't have a ton of other stuff getting on. It's entertainment for me as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I always kind of have fun with it. I don't do social media a lot, but one of my favorite things is to like go on and heckle the trolls. And so sometimes I do, you just kind of poke at them a little bit. Um,
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll let them show me I'm like, oh yeah, let me view your webcam. And then I'm like, oh, I'm like, you're talking shit on me.
Oh, I love that
But,
shit. Yeah, I have a bad problem with that, going at trolls. I've always had that issue, uh, especially like now, because like with Cam Girl Diaries, I post everything everywhere.
right.
I cut clips, I post them everywhere, and there's a website that's a YouTube alternative called BitChute, and it's filled with incels.
Yes.
It's the incel site. And so every time I post a clip, they're always, just shitting on girls like, oh, this fucking whore. Look at these whores. Everyone's a whore. And,
Yeah.
it's like, oh my God. I love just fucking with them.
Oh yeah,
It's
and
just,
they're just mad because I have to pay for nudes now, is what it boils down to. Um,
yeah,
but it's fun to go in there and fuck with them. I agree.
it
I,
is. Yeah, yeah. I get a little too, like emotionally involved. Because I know where they're, you could tell when someone types certain things, you can tell where they're coming from. Like you can tell when someone's just, like making some jokes. I love jokes. I'm a big fan of jokes, but you can tell when someone's just being fucking mean and fake. Like, saying like some girl, like whatever, oh, that girl's so fucking ugly and all that. Like, no, she's not. Like, it's just
right, you're just trying
absurd.
to be a jackass.
Yeah, it's just absurd, and I don't know. I just get, I just have to, I have to put them in their place.
Yeah. And you know what? Sometimes I need it. Sometimes I throw people sympathy where sympathy is due because again, I get it. You've got emotional trauma. Like the inner social worker in me wants to heal you. But sometimes you're just being a douchebag and you need to be called out for it. Because you know what? Not everyone deserves to have their voice heard. Not everyone deserves a sympathetic eye. Sometimes when you're being an asshole, you just need to be treated like an asshole. Because, it is what it is.
Well, yeah, the ones that set me off. Like I love fucking with them, but like the ones that really get me emotionally involved is the ones that they write something that as a fact, like they know.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
That pisses me off, and I have to fucking set them straight. I gotta
Oh,
give them facts because I love facts.
yes.
That it's like,
Oh my God, yes. Well, and that's the biggest thing that I get is I'm pretty open about it. I'm a big believer too that like, not that I'm against it because I understand why some people would like hide their identity or do this and that, but I'm just putting it all out in the open right from the get-go because, now I'm not giving you power over me because you can't expose me. You can't blackmail me. This is who I am. This is what I do. Um, but I understand why some women would want to hide their identities and such and do that type of thing. But, like, it's just sometimes you just gotta let people know what's up. People are always like, if you do this type of thing, you're a whore, you're a slut, you're from a bad background. And I'm like, you know me. I was a social worker. I'm getting ready to be going to medical school. I'm finishing up a, pre-med school degree. Like I'm 28 years old. I bought my own house 2 years ago. I have a brand new car in my driveway. These are all things that I obtained for myself. I'm far from, yeah, but my parents are addicts. I had a rough upbringing, but like, I'm far from someone who's, living on the street, right? There's this big misconception that when you do online sex work, you're like a drug addict or you're down to the pits and you're scraping the bottom of the barrel and you're missing your teeth or, you're ready to sell your soul. And that's not the case. there's a lot of women who have just chosen to do this because it's more profitable. Sex work is the oldest, occupation that was recorded. Women have been doing this a long time and making damn good money at it. As a society, we've been starting to regress a little bit. So more women are turning to online sex work. We're making more money doing it, and it's giving us a better lifestyle. The same guys that are online talking all this trash are probably making either about the same or less money than we are working full-time jobs that they absolutely hate. So who's the real loser here?
Well, that's the thing, because like they're all calling you all whores, but meanwhile you're all making, even just like you're making, even at the bottom, the very bottom, you're making some extra money. But isn't it the guys that are the fucking, you want to call anyone anything, like wouldn't you talk shit about the guys? The guys are the one paying for it. If you're gonna pay me a couple hundred just for me to whip my dick out, of course I am. Like, why wouldn't I?
Right. Well, and it's funny that you say that, because I've asked when there were men that I kind of, on my social media, I do have separate social medias. And there was someone on my personal account who was kind of talking trash about OnlyFans. And I was like, right, but riddle me this. If someone told you that they would give you $500 to take a highlighter and write their name on your dick and send you a photo of that, would you do it? And they're like, fuck yeah. And I'm like, okay, that's something that I've done and gotten paid $500 for on OnlyFans. I wrote someone's name across my tits with a highlighter, and I got paid $500 for it. It took exactly 3 minutes. It wasn't even a good picture. It was just like, boom. I'm like, so you're telling me that I'm the whore, but you just, you would have done the same thing, would you not? So you're just, I think the real root of the psychology here is that I'm making more money per hour doing something that they perceive to be less labor, which in a lot of ways it can be. I'm working less hours than I was before, making more money. And there's definitely something to be said for that. Again, I hesitate to use the word easy, but like,
different.
There's a magic there. There's a magic.
Right. Yeah, it's different. It's a different,
exactly,
different stresses and all that stuff, right?
Exactly. I had to invest in some more lube, but my back, so sometimes my back gets a little bit more tight because I'm, bent over in certain positions, or I'm probably going to get carpal tunnel but whatever. These are things that probably would happen anyway. There's things about every job that are going to be stressful, right? Whether you're sitting at a desk all day or using a dildo all day, and one way or another, you're probably using your mouth. So, it's all the same at the end of the day.
Right, yeah. And if it's something you enjoy or possibly can enjoy, like, it takes a lot of work. Obviously it takes a lot of work, especially like if you're not you're very comfortable with everything that's involved in this, right? I mean,
right, exactly. But I can see where it would be tough too. And there's definitely days, the hard part for me to like contend with is sometimes, because my schedule is so free, I fuck around a lot. And I'm like, oh crap, it's 10:30 p.m. I'm still sitting in my pajamas. I studied or whatever. I cleaned my house a little bit, but I don't feel sexy. I don't want to log on to Cam for 4 or 5 hours. And, now I've got to do my hair and I've got to do my makeup, and I get lazy with it. And, it's just, even on days that you're not doing the most, which I typically don't do the most, you still have to get yourself kind of in this mental state. And if you're not, you can feel it and your clients can feel it. Like when I'm sitting there and I've had a rough day, I'm stressed out, or I'm just tired and I've been cleaning my house all day, and maybe, I got super stoned or something. I'm just not feeling it right now, but I've got to log on anyway. Those are days I'm going to make less money. So you have to kind of really put yourself in the actor mentality. And even if you're not into it, you have to pretend to be into it. You got to put on the big smiles and the sexy voice. And even when the person you're camming with is very much someone that you would not normally find attractive, you better find something to get you going and make those wheels turn. And that can be hard.
Yeah, yeah, I guess, yeah, because I never even say that. Like, it would probably make it easier if, like, especially with someone that's not, like, comfortable with this or anything. Like, think of it as an acting gig. Like, think of it like you're performing. Like, you just think of yourself as an actress.
Yes.
You know, like that. I think that could push you through, right?
Right. Absolutely. And I got a coach. So there is someone online and she goes, her name is Jade Malone. She goes by like Redhead Jade, I think, on social media, but she does these like master classes for spicy content creators. And one of the biggest things that helped me when starting all this, I've always, again, I'm a big on education. So I wanted to know a little bit before I jumped in. And I got a coach. I was like, what are the types of things that you do? How do you set boundaries for yourself? What do you do to get yourself in the mood? How do you keep yourself on schedule? What are some things that you do? And her number one recommendation was to, even if you're fully yourself, like I am, to create a character. She was like, down to the way that you say hello. And she was like, this doesn't have to be who you are in your everyday life. She was like, you can wake up and decide who you want to be today and fit a niche and make yourself work. She was like, pick 3 things about yourself that you love and kind of adapt to those. Maybe you have a very specific color. I really jump on the fact that I'm a student and then I've got kind of that girl next door vibe. That really works for me, so I play to that. Some girls maybe are really spicy and they've got like that beautiful sultry look. So you're going to want to do something a little bit more intense. You find something that caters to you and you sort of build a life around that. Where were you born? What did you do? What are your friends like? What do you like to do for fun? And this doesn't have to be, something, the person that you are every day. A lot of the times I think it helps people to be outside of themselves for this. So create a persona, be an actress, be an actor, get yourself in the headspace. If you're not typically the type of person who would do online sex work, then create a character that is the type of person who would do that and fit that persona. Have fun with it, and before you know it, you've got like this whole alter ego going on. A lot of the times it really, I know girls online who are night and day from their personality. You would never guess. Never guess. And on the same regard, like someone, even like the girl next door, people come online and they're like, holy shit, you can get really kinky. And I'm like, yeah, just be, you can't always, you can still have your niches, but get a little dirtier. You can't always, it's important to really analyze your model, look at the comments, look at who they are. A lot of the times we take, our bios fairly seriously and we write some stuff, give you a little bit of input about us. Take that to heart, because if we're telling you that, we're sultry and we're intimate, you might want to find out why.
Right. Right. Yeah, no, that's great advice, man. Especially like, cause like to play cat, like it's fun. Like that's,
Exactly.
right. It's fun. You could like, and it can evolve into, there's no rules. Like, you can evolve to wherever you want to be,
Right. Exactly. Online, Katie is very boisterous and, I laugh a lot. I like jokes. I like to have conversations. Me every day, I would much prefer, I don't know a single one of my neighbors' names. If you try to talk to me when I'm out in public, I'm going to be like, ew, go away, like 6 feet, please. Like, I don't want anything to do with other humans outside of the realm of camming, But it's really fun when I get to come in and all of a sudden I'm bubbly and I'm friendly and I'm the type of person who wants to know more about you and I want to talk to people and I get to sort of play that role. And then in my everyday life, I can just be my normal self.
Yeah, it's like an escape, really. I mean, right?
Exactly. And again, it's nice because I hate to, I try not to make things about money, but I was amazed. On my worst night, I make like $150 a night just in a matter of an hour or two. And if I'm not doing well, I just log off and call it a day. You try again tomorrow. And, it's so...
Yeah, with that, I want to ask you: do you ever because especially because you're on Chaturbate, do you ever find yourself like when it's slow, do you like, do you just sit there and just see what happens, or do you just get off? Because, you know, like, what's the point?
It depends. Sometimes, so the inner nerd in me made a bunch of Excel spreadsheets when I first started. And I logged in which sites I was using, how much money I was making, you know, what times of the day. So I tried to find out which days and which times were the most profitable on each site. So I'll try to log in at like those times specifically. And if things are slow, I might still kind of stay to see if they pick back up. But I try to play it by like, if it's been 45 minutes and I have not received a tip on, I have not received a tip on any site, or, you know, I haven't been taken into a private chat, I'm probably going to log off. Now, I might just throw a robe on. I've got a hot tub in the backyard, so I might hop in my hot tub for 15, 20 minutes and come back. Sometimes I'll change scenery. Depending on which site I'm streaming from, I can stream in my hot tub. So sometimes I'll go out there, and I find that tends to bring people to the table a lot, because it's something new, it's something different.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes I'll just kind of log off. I'll watch TV. Sometimes I stay on and I'll mute my microphone. I'll set my camera up so it's just in front of my television and I'll watch TV or something. Or I'll put a headphone in and like throw my hair down and listen to a podcast or a book on tape, and just kind of see how things go for a few minutes while I use my vibrator and try to entice people. But if I notice that things aren't picking up, I don't try to beat a dead horse.
Right. Right. Okay. Yeah. Because you do custom content, or you don't even?
I do. I definitely, especially if I like you. And if you're someone who's been tipped, and again, it's not all about the money for me. If you're very polite and you're respectful and you've been showing courtesy, you might get to see, you know, I might take you and show you my titties or do a cam to cam session without you having tipped me anything, just because I like you, because I like your energy. And on a reverse note, you know, you might be someone who I'm not necessarily fond of, but you're tipping me really consistently. I'm going to be more likely to cater to you, even if you're asking me to call you daddy and do things that are less than my favorite.
Hmm. Right.
So it really depends on like the energy of the person or the value that they're bringing to my table.
Right.
Because again, if I like you and I'm having fun with you, then fuck it, I'm going to have fun with you. But if you're someone that's just you're new, or you're a little blasé and you're just like, hey, a lot of the times guys come in and they'll, you know, shake your ass, show me your ass, shake your ass, show me your ass, show me your pussy, I want to see your tits. I'm like,
That sounds fun.
Right. I'm like, I see you, friend. I'm like, and my favorite is when they'll send me, especially on Chaturbate, I guess there's this thing that you can do where you can send someone a picture of like the little mouse clicking the PMs. So as if I don't know how to check my private messages, and they're showing me how. They're like, here, you check your PMs like this. And I'm like, no, I know how to do it. Thank you for mansplaining the website that I literally have a profile on to me. I understand the concept of the private message. You, however, my friend, have not brought anything to my table, so I'm not taking any time to give to you specifically in this moment. But thank you. I appreciate the you know.
That's a nice dig. I like that. That's a nice dig.
I'm like, okay. I'm like, thank you for acting like I don't know what I'm doing here.
Yeah, thanks.
It's the same thing when I try to like send you, they're like, oh, here's a PayPal request. You have to give me $25 first. I'm like, do you think that I have a PayPal account and I've never used it? Like, no, but they do that a lot. They're like, this is how you check your private messages. This is how you check your direct messages. I'm like, yes, I know.
Yeah, I'm fucking retarded. I don't know. Thanks, buddy. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. But you said about that's fucking smart. I haven't heard that yet, and that makes total sense. Like you keep track of like when when shit's popping, times, days, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely something to be said for consistency. And I think that no matter what time that you log on, you're going to have clients. But there's definitely times that I receive more tips than others. There's times that I have higher traffic but get less money. And there's days or, times I have lower traffic but I make a ton. And sometimes it only takes one really good session to make your night. It depends on. So there's another thing that is slept on, and it's called Friendly, Phrendly. That is I make a ton. It's not necessarily as consistent, but when I get calls on Friendly, I make a lot of money. And Friendly's nice because that you can set it up to direct deposit into your account the next day, or it'll deposit money. So I tend to make like 30 or 40 bucks on Friendly with short video calls or, brief text messages that I can do at my own time. A lot of the times I'll let that run up in the background while I'm camming because I can respond to those messages, and they're paying for every message that they send you. So it's more worthwhile.
Right. Have it run in the background. That's brilliant.
So when things are slow with chat sessions, sometimes I'll just pay a little bit more attention to Friendly. I'm still making 35 cents a message, and that's going to automatically. I think the most I've made on Friendly in a day is like 280 bucks. So there's times where you can like make a pretty decent penny on it. And then there's days I've only made like 15. So the average is like 30 to 40 a day, but I don't pay all that much attention to it. So I think that if, you were to put a lot of work into it, it would definitely have the potential to make you some decent coin too.
Yeah. Yeah. Now with Friendly
change.
Well, with Friendly, where do the customers come from? Like, where do they find you on there? Do they find you on there, or is it separate, or like?
So it's weird. It's almost in a way set up like a dating app. So it's kind of like Tinder, and you have to heart a person, and if they heart you back, then they can send you messages. And whoever sends the first message initiates the payment. So my strategy is they allow you to like set up your age range. I do 18 to 99. And so that way I get everyone. They don't limit the amount of people that you can like. So I just like everybody and then let them come to me. I'll spend a few minutes in the morning and I'll pull it up on my phone. And while I'm drinking my coffee, I'll just sit there and hit the like button consistently and do it, 250 times. Just that way I've got a pretty good, start for the day. And as people come in, sometimes you never get a message. Sometimes they do message you. I've had guys on Friendly bring me into a chat for like 45 minutes. And for an hour, I get $202 on Friendly. So, it's financially, it's definitely worthwhile. You can also use it on your computer, so it's not strictly on the phone, but it's a little, and I think that's why it's harder for things to be consistent. It's a little bit less easy to get clients. As you're at the mercy of them if you don't want to pay them, then you're at the mercy of them sending you a message after you like each other. And I'd say maybe 1 out of every 10 people that I make a match with actually sends me a message.
But like you said, like how you're using it like while you're fucking just eating something. Right? It's not like it's not even your free time. It's just like you're eating and just fucking just liking shit. That sounds pretty good.
Exactly. I'll be, watching a lecture for school and sitting there doing it or whatever in my hot tub. And I'll just take it. It doesn't take long. You can speed do it. Just hit the button a bunch of times, and which is typically what I do. It's become like second nature now for me to like tap my phone screen while I'm doing something else and I'm not even really paying attention.
Sounds like a great strategy for Fansly, right? Fansly?
Yeah. Yes.
Fansly.
Friendly.
Friendly. Oh.
I'm sorry. I'm terrible with names.
I don't fucking know. Yeah. I mean, there's so many.
And I found that's a good strategy too. I've got the Onlyfans, I've got the Chaturbate, the My Free Cams, the Streamate, Friendly. I'm like, Live Jasmine or whatever. I signed up for them all when I started, and I was like, what's going to make me the most money? Where do I have the most clients?
Are you at that? Are you at that point now? Like, cause like I totally down with that. Sign up to everything you possibly can. Are you at the point where like you've narrowed it down to like a select few and those are the ones you focus on?
Yeah, for the most part. I stick to Streamate, Chaturbate, and My Free Cams plus Friendly thrown in. And Friendly's nice because that's one of the only ones that's an actual app you can download to your phone too, which makes it super convenient. So I can do that like while I'm on the go. And then, the Streamate, Chaturbate, and my cams I'll typically do like on my computer. And those are the big three. I find I make the most money on Streamate. My free cams is probably a close second, and then Chaturbate comes in third. But Chaturbate is where I have the largest following. So Chaturbate is probably where I've gotten the most subscriptions to my OnlyFans through, folks on Chaturbate and things like that. So there's definitely kind of a method to the madness for each, I think.
Yeah.
You have to do what works for you. I know some girls who do extraordinarily well on Chaturbate. And I've been continuing dues. I see a lot of partners doing really well on my free cams and Chaturbate. So I've been playing with the idea of bringing in one of the girls that I sleep with sometimes and seeing if we could do a show to see if that would improve. But I think that it's all about kind of the subscriptions there too. With my free cams and Chaturbate, there's a lot of traffic to both of those sites. And it's really easy to set up a free account for both of those sites. And a lot of people use it for that purpose. Even the premium members will buy tokens once and never buy tokens again. And now they've got that premium status and they come in. So you have to kind of, weigh those benefits. Now you might have a ton of traffic on Chaturbate and you get a ton of premium accounts that are great tippers, but on my free cams, not as much, So whatever works for you, I think is what you should definitely. For each girl, I think there's a method to the madness, but people sleep on Streamate a lot and it kills me. That's definitely, I make the majority of my, Streamate is probably where I put the most of my focus.
Yeah, I hear that a lot. With the two that I hear that from is Streamate and Sex Panther. Those are the two that I hear that from.
Yes, Sex Panther is great too. That one was a little bit harder for me to navigate. Like it felt a little bit, it wasn't as much like the program itself wasn't as easy for me to work by, which I kind of let that one fall by the wayside, but love Streamate.
Yeah.
And for some people, Sex Panther works really well. And I can see where it would have like a ton of potential.
Right. Yeah. I mean, especially with that kind of stuff, like it's like your comfort level with the apps and everything. Like I hate OnlyFans. I hate everything about it. Shit, I shouldn't have said. All right, never mind. I just don't like how it's. I don't know. I just don't like the feel of it. It's just my taste, Like I just don't like the feel of it. Whatever,
No, I totally understand. There's people that I know. The coach that I hired, her whole, like most of her teaching was designated for OnlyFans originally. And then I kind of came in, and not that OnlyFans definitely has a purpose, I think, but it's definitely not where I make the most money. And it's not my most favorite. I enjoy it. And I do, I love my clients there, but I find it can be a little clunky sometimes. And you either love it or you hate it. And that worked really, really well for my coach. But for me, like the actual camming has been more beneficial. I think it's too, when you have a marketing mindset, I think OnlyFans comes to you very easily, but I don't have a marketing mindset. I couldn't sell ice water to people in hell. So when you're asking me like why you should come and subscribe to my OnlyFans, well, I don't fucking know. Do you want to see my tits?
Right.
So that one's a harder sell for me. Whereas camming, it comes a little bit more naturally, and I feel like, I can be myself. Although I do offer like custom videos and stuff, recording myself on camera I'd much rather like talk to you, have a conversation or be in this type of setting as opposed to like making a video for you. And I'm a lot more awkward in those positions. I'm also going to like overanalyze everything I do. Every photo that I post, every video, I'm going to watch it like 50 times and then hate it and delete it and try again and until I make myself crazy. With camming, I'm just, here I am. I'm out there. It is what it is. I'm just being myself. Hopefully you're just being yourself too, and we can just be safe in the space together and have a little fun.
Right. Yeah.
And then I also don't have to worry about you downloading my video and sending it to my future boss or whatever,
Right.
Not that people can't record cam sessions, but to me, it's always felt a little safer than like sending you a shit ton of photos or doing these custom videos of like me sucking a toy for you that I couldn't deny even if I tried.
Right. You just clicked something in my mind. I just found. God damn it! I just found. Here, wait, one second, because I want to ask you about this real quick.
Yeah.
I just found there's websites that record Chaturbate lives. You know about these?
Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah. They'll post them on like different sites like Pornhub and things. And well, probably not Pornhub because I think they have like more strict, but that they'll
like
post them
X
on
videos, those kind of
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I was like, holy shit, this is fucking like. There's just like every fucking like because I was checking out for one person, and like all of her fucking sessions are on there.
Yeah. And something that you have to be careful of too. I know a lot of models and girls who have been blackmailed because VPN settings and cybersecurity is so important when you start camming because even though they've got those little you can block your area. If someone wants to do harm, they're going to do harm. If someone wants to find you, they will find you. And they have done it. I know a lot of girls that people have come in and they found, and then they've, if you don't want your entire family to know and your boss to know and, this, that, and the other, then this is what's going to happen. And you don't want to get yourself in those situations. And they'll do it. I'm going to post your video on this site if you don't pay me this amount or if you don't do these things for me. And then half the time they're going to post your damn video anyway, or someone's already done it. So it's it's fucked up. And there's not, and there is and there isn't a whole lot that you can do about it. It can be tough to track down exactly who posted those videos. They get viewed hundreds of thousands of times. Some of that stuff gets washed out. Sometimes you can't afford to hire the legal help that you need to help you navigate that particular situation, or you might not even know that it's happened.
Yeah. It's insane. The amount of websites that are out there. And some of these websites, I don't know if you've seen, like some of these websites that stuff gets posted to are not even, they're not like functioning websites, but there's videos on there.
Yeah. It's a different method too. It's a lot of the times hackers will use these links and those information. So they're posting those videos. You click on them. They might not have been able to get anything from me, but now they're going to be able to get something from you.
Right.
It's in a way they use us as clickbait too. And it kills me how many ways people will find just to scam you. I'm like, if all the people that were scamming cam girls actually just got on the cam site for themselves, they would probably make more money than they do with these scams that they're trying to pull.
Right.
You could just come here and shake your ass. It would be okay. Like you could probably make a decent living, honey. I assure you. And that's what I always think when it comes to these situations. I'm like, if they put half as much energy into doing all of these things to hurt other people, then they could, I'm like, dude, you could probably be a rocket scientist or cure cancer if you just stop trying to be such a jackass.
I know, like just no morals. I don't know. It's lazy, but it's a lot of work though. It's a lot of work. I guess just like if you find that person that just doesn't know any better, or maybe that's easy.
Well,
I don't know.
and the sad thing is, it happens. It happens a lot. People get scammed left and right.
I know you want to believe, man. You want to believe,
Well, and there are horrible stories too. I've had a guy who I had to cut off because he was coming to me, and finally he admitted that he was spending every penny of all of his paychecks on tokens and chat sessions with me. And I only found out one day because our session ended and he messaged me and he was like, hold on, I'm going to be right back. He was like, I have to go and get another credit card so I can upload points. Like I've gone into the negative on this account. And I was like, wait a minute, whoa. And I was like, dude, like, I really appreciate time with you, but if you're putting yourself in a financial situation, then we shouldn't be having this time together. I was like, I think it's for your own benefit if I go ahead and block you because I don't want, I mean, I appreciate having you as a customer. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not going to be able to sleep at night if I know that you're constantly spending every dollar you have and you're not able to pay your bills and you're not able to live your life because you're spending all this money on me.
I mean, it's better than smoking crack, but I mean, it's equal to,
Right.
gambling though, it's,
Exactly. I'm like, I think about a lot. There was, and you'll have to forgive me because I don't remember what the family's name was but it was like another podcast I was listening to, a true crime, and it was a cam girl, and this guy he was obsessing over her to the point where he had like taken his family's credit cards and he had put in that his family in debt, and it was like big money. He was like committing fraud. He went to prison and then got out, and his family had like reached out to this girl and like they were like, please, we need you. If you see him again, just don't interact with him. Like, please just block him. And he ended up killing his entire family over this cam girl.
holy
Yeah, and it's
shit.
like, let me see if I can. I feel terrible that
Is
I
it
can't remember. The girl's
Anna?
name is
Anna?
Addie it was Addie something, and Grant Amato is the guy's name. He killed his family. And the girl's true name was Melissa Turner, but online she went as Addie. But this dude like killed his whole family over this. So I always, and like the inner social worker in me, when I sense like there's too much of a desperation and that maybe this is an addiction or that this is a problem for someone, I'm all into having fun, but I don't want to be what sends you into a downward spiral or a rabbit hole. So if I start sensing that, I'm like, it's in my best interest and it's in your best interest if we just don't doesn't create a good mental space for me as someone who has like a history with social work because now I want to fix you and that's going to move our relationship to a different space and I don't want to that is not my problem. That is not my fish to fry. I want you to get a really, really good therapist. That is not me. And good luck. May the force be with you and the odds be ever in your favor.
Yeah,
But
that's
yeah,
yeah, because that's no fun.
no.
It's no fun watching other people suffer, or especially being a part of it. Fuck that.
Exactly. So I think it's important for us to think about the exploitation from both ends, like just as much as I hate that there's a chance that my videos are being posted on like some of these crazy websites, I also hate the idea of some dude spending every last dollar. I would rather just show you my tits for free for 5 minutes than have you spend every penny that have on me and you can't get food for the week or your electricity is going to get cut off.
Yeah, that's mental. That's mental disorder, right? I mean, that's not.
And that happens a lot. It's something that I think that I wish that other models would be aware of that, there are now, people do things for whatever reasons, but there's a lot of people out here who have partners that don't know that they're on these sites and don't understand why these charges are happening. And, this has ended marriages. I've had men call me with their wives, like sleeping in the background and they're like trying to show me their sleeping wife. And I'm like, no, I'm like, this is like, you gotta go, honey, you gotta go. Like, and, so you can't, when people are getting hurt, which does happen, and it's so easy on these sites, especially when you're new and you're just starting out and you're trying to navigate and get your footing and like these people are coming in, it's a very easy industry to just have exploitation take over on a lot of different ends.
Yeah, never even crossed my mind.
Got a lot of the times too. Another big kink is men will come on and they'll want to talk trash about their wives or they'll want me to talk trash about their wives. And I'm like, that's gross. Like, I can't tell you, your wife's not a bitch. She's probably a lovely woman. You're actually probably an asshole, and that's why
Why?
she's not sucking your dick.
Yeah, why even bother? Like
Right.
that's just like a that's just like a bad headspace in every way. Like just
Like, it doesn't turn me on. Like, and if it does turn you on, then you need some therapy, and I feel bad for your wife. Like, that's the energy that's not getting you laid, dude.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Like,
it's,
so,
there's all kind of wackos out there, you know.
or,
But
we're all a little wacky in our own ways, though, I guess.
exactly,
And
exactly.
most of my friends think I've got a couple that are supportive that I really hang on to and cherish. But the vast majority of responses that I got when I said that I was going to, continue to work as a cam girl were negative. A lot of people who supported me when I was doing it, when I had no other means, all of a sudden thought it was a terrible idea for me to turn down like this full-time job as opposed to doing this even though, and I even said, I posted, I was like, I'm happy and I can do the things that I love and that make me feel good. Or I can go back to the safety of a 40-hour job that I absolutely hate that gives me all these benefits, but it's crushing my soul. So I'm like, I was amazed at how many people were just like, nah, crush your soul. They'd rather see me do that. They're like, being an online sex worker is so horrible. I'm like, is it? What's so bad about it?
That's the
You know,
yeah. I think that's the society we just live in.
yeah,
Right?
exactly.
That's it. I mean, you
Yeah.
throw in fucking religion and all that bullshit and the culture we're in now. I bet you in the 90s if the internet was if the internet was what it was now, like in the 90s, sex work would be the fucking like
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if it'd be mainstream, but I mean, it wouldn't be that big a deal, it'd be a lot
Yeah.
different.
Yeah. And I'm like, again, people have been, this is not a new thing. Sex work, it did not just start. As long as people have existed, they've been paying for sex. That's sex sells. That's what it is. That's the way our society is. And why does that have to be a problem? Here's the thing. We are all just blobs of like flesh on this big hunk of carbon. The reason that we feel pleasure from sex is because we're driven to. It's part of what ingrained in our DNA. So why fight that? Why treat it like it's bad? Why make each other feel bad about it and not just enjoy it and have some fun? You
That's
know?
yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean,
Well,
it's the world we live in, especially
yeah, it's
now.
literally what we're built for. People don't think twice about like when, animals fuck each other in nature, but then they're like, oh God, you shouldn't be an online sex worker. I'm like, why? Like, animals fuck each other all the time and it's fine, but people shouldn't do that. And I don't even have to actually go and put myself at risk. I'm in the safety of my own home behind a locked door. I'm not putting myself at risk of any STDs. I'm, comfortable. I'm in control.
You know what? I think the world is moving faster now, but like you just think back, like you watch a show from the 1950s, like the husband and wife like slept in separate beds, but that wasn't reality. But on TV, that had to be the reality. You know what I mean? Like that was only only I mean, what 70, 80 years ago. But
Well, I'll never forget when I was a kid, I saw my grandparents kiss and I was appalled. I was like, oh my God, old people don't kiss. You guys shouldn't. And my mother looked at me and she was like, how do you think your grandmother got to have 8 children? And I don't know why I was like 13 years old or something. And it just struck me. And I was like, oh my God, she's right. Like my grandmom had sex and she might still be having sex. Holy shit. But yeah, like it's normal. And it's our grandparents didn't get to have the loads of children that most of them or a lot of them have by just sleeping in separate beds.
that's
We
right.
never think
Hey,
that.
Grandpa was blowing loads in Grandma. That's just a
Right.
fact.
Exactly. I'm like, look, our grandmothers invented porn. All right. We didn't invent this shit. This isn't brand new. This is something in great great grandma was out here, writing the first original sex via letter. There's some ink and quill, parchment sex letters out there. I guarantee it. People were hella spicy.
You ever
So we're
It's
like,
funny you say that because I not too long ago I seen like the first like pornographic pictures from like the early 1900s. Like they were fucking they weren't like all prim and proper. They were fucking blah everything was out.
dirty and wild, man. They could only, they were getting one photo, so they really had to make it work.
Yeah.
Like, but it's true, it's so funny to me I've also been very fortunate that I've had the ability to travel with school. It's amazing to me that my community colleges have allowed study abroads the way that they have. But something I've learned is that we as Americans are extraordinarily prude about sex. We're all like, oh, everyone's so aghast. I went to Germany and they're like, yeah, we fuck all the time. We'll fuck in that bathroom right now. Like my wife bends me over. I like to be pegged. What'd you have for lunch? Just like an everyday, they're like, why do Americans think it's so weird? They're like, why? They're like, you're the weird ones. It's natural. Like, you like what you like, you talk about it, you move on. And if you just have the discussion, it normalizes it. And then all of a sudden the things that once were weird little kinks are now just things that people like, and it's everyday behavior. That's so true. It's that way in so many other countries. And here in America, we're like, no, I'd rather not talk about sex at the dinner table, please.
Right, yeah, all in the bedroom and everything, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess this is the beginning. I mean, for Americans anyway, this is like the beginning. Where it's starting to, because like, like there's less religious people now than, younger people now than ever. Like, things are changing, but I think it's only the beginning, right?
Oh my God, yes. And it's that one thing that I've noticed is where I do find support and like the people I have been able to be, actually openly having conversations with are super supportive, and like they would live and die by it, and they would crucify anyone who spoke down to me about it or who tried to like make me feel bad. And these are the people that are going forward and they're pushing. Another misconception is that, cam girls are out there and we're like not doing anything. I know a lot of people that are working towards getting laws passed and legislation to make actual changes in their states to help regulations and things of that nature. There's a lot of power in sex work and the confidence that comes with it. And when you find those people and the people that are going to support you in that, you can really create an army. That's what's going to pioneer the change that I see happening.
One day, not anytime soon, though, unfortunately. It's...
It might be in our lifetime. We'll be old, but it might be in our lifetime.
Right, yeah, once the old people die off, and it's starting. I mean, what's the next... Yeah, because, like, what, the boomer generation is, like, the oldest now, or no? I think, I don't know. But once they die off, things will be a lot easier.
There was someone on, I think it was a TikTok or something, and her slogan was "Cremate the patriarchy." And I stand by that. Once we have the patriarchy cremated, we'll be able, and we're getting there. They're all dying off. They call it the silver tsunami, and it's getting ready to happen. All the people that were old and crotchety and keeping all these terrible things in place are falling out, and they're starting to drop like flies. They're having heart attacks with their hookers, and then we're going to be able to swoop in.
Yeah, it's true, man. It's true. It's just like, it's evolution.
Yes.
It's a weird evolution though.
It is, but it's happening. And there were some studies that have been done. We have been progressing more rapidly as far in different directions, not necessarily, always progression, but our society's been changing more rapidly over the ages. We as a society are pushing forward and backward in some cases faster than we ever have before. So I think that we'd be amazed the kind of power, if we stick together and really create a camaraderie. That's one of the things that I love about your podcast is that it kind of helps to bring people together. One thing that I encountered was this sense of like competition. I first started and I was like turning to Reddit for a lot of advice, and people were very hesitant to share their knowledge. And it was almost like they were afraid that if like they told me what their favorite site on was, that all of a sudden I was going to log on and steal all of their clients and they weren't going to get tips anymore. So there was this hesitation to share information. And I think that we really need to create the sense of abundance. There's enough work out there for all of us. And if we can just work together with one another, we can actually make changes that are going to be good and progress for all of us to not only keep us making money and keep us in profit, but that there was a law that was recently passed. I believe the state was Maryland. It might have been Delaware on the East Coast that finally prohibited sex trafficking. After all these years, it was in like 2022. Yeah, sex trafficking was still technically
what?
technicality. Yeah. It was some like minor law and it was making and
That's
so, but
hilarious.
you know who found that law and found that subsection? An online sex worker. She brought it to the attention of local legislation, and now that's not a thing anymore. So there's people out there, and you wouldn't think because it's 2023. How could there possibly be a law that exists that would allow for the exploitation of women? I say, as we just banned abortion in half the states in the U.S. When living in the United States, especially as a woman, although we think they are, and, we do the whole freedom of speech and, our amendments, our bodies aren't our own in a lot of cases in the U.S. And it's the work of people, a lot of the times, online sex workers and the people who love them that are doing the work, or even just sex work in general, that it's pushing that forward and pioneering it because we're the ones who are pointing out the horrible things because we're paying attention to them.
I'm blown away. I didn't even realize like sex trafficking, really?
Yeah.
Out of all the things.
People aren't analyzing the laws, that they're not teaching you about in most cases, all the nitty gritties of the details of like sex trafficking laws that's stuff that you have to specialize in over the years. And a lot of the times it just gets glazed over and brushed over and people don't realize the implications. There are so many archaic laws that are in place and it's so easy to get them changed. It's not, you don't have to be in the government. You don't have to, all you have to do is bring it to the attention of one of your local legislative people and let them do the work for you. Just point out the issue.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. Yeah, I've never experienced, it's funny, I'll just say this because it has nothing to do with anything, but I've never ever in my life reached out to any politician or anything like that, right? Ever in my entire life. Last year, because I live in Lancaster actually, and I'm moving to Maine, and last year I worked for a company. It was great and everything, but they found someone else. I trained the person, and they let me go way earlier than we had discussed. So I was collecting unemployment. Then there was, because apparently unemployment in Pennsylvania is a huge fucking ordeal and this and that. And my money went into a fraudulent account on the back end of unemployment. Now, so they had to do a big investigation, this and that. 8 months goes by. So I'm living off of my savings. And finally, just weeks ago, I fucking, because like my savings is pretty much depleted now. I reached out to my local politician. I think her Mindy Fee or some shit. The next day, one of her representatives called me to say that they're going to talk to their person in Harrisburg. The very next day, unemployment called me. I haven't heard from that. They've never called me ever.
Right.
And just what's today? Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever. Monday, I got a call, the last call that said they're going to send me my money.
See? It's amazing.
It all happened within days.
That's incredible. Things can move when you have the right person's voice. The process can move so quickly. All you need is someone in your corner. And it sucks because there's so many people who are falling through the cracks just like there's so many people are being screwed out of, the incompetence of our government, clearly because it was just a matter of a couple phone calls and all of a sudden the problem's taken care of. You just have to have the voice of the right person and all of a sudden you can make a change.
And I say all of that because I would have never, because I was waiting 8 fucking months like a fucking retard. But I was, I was at my fucking end here. I had, I'm almost out of money here, so I had to do it. But I didn't realize how fucking easy the whole process, like they actually fucking did so. I didn't do it because I figured, fuck, look at the politicians in Washington. They don't fucking do anything. They don't get anything done. Why bother?
Right. Well, and the first time and it's funny, I have a very similar story. I'd never really thought to reach out to a politician, but I had a tree in my front yard and I live sort of next door to a church. and there's a lot of traffic on my street. And there was a tree that was falling over. It's not quite on my property. It's not quite on my neighbor's property. And we had looked at like our assessments because we're trying to figure out what we're going to do about this tree that's going to fall over, fall into the street, fall onto a kid or a grandma with a walker. And we called a tree place and like we contacted some people and they gave us a quote of like $8,000 to come and remove this tree. And I'm like, what the shit? And I knew for a fact that this tree wasn't on our property. And I was like, this is on the city. It's not on your property. It's not on my property. It's on the city of Philadelphia's property. It's the only other person who owns this land. So I reached out to a local politician and I was like, hey, they're trying to say that we're responsible for this tree, but it's going to hurt someone. It's not on my property. It's not on their property. I'm a freaking college student and a social worker. She's a nurse and a full-time mom. We can't afford this. You got to come. And they were out like 2 days later and the tree was cut down. I came home from work the next day and there was a big orange X over everything. They'd come out, they'd surveyed, they cut it down. I never would have thought to, it was one of my colleagues actually, I think, because I was gone into work and I was complaining. They're like, you should reach out to your local representative. And it did. It was like a matter of 48 hours and that tree was down.
Holy shit. Yeah, I would have been like, yeah, okay, I'll do that. Fuck out of here.
Right. I would have been like, all right, guess the tree's falling. Yeah. Hope no one's underneath it when it crushes. Like hope a car's not driving by.
Yeah, nothing's going to happen. But 2 days. It just took 2 fucking days.
Yep. It was crazy. And so, we've all got it in this idea that like something's so big and we can't tackle it. But it's not true. We can. There's so much power that we have. And that's something that Cam Girl has helped bring me too. It's helped me gain confidence. It's helped me. You really do feel more powerful when you do it. It makes you feel sexy. It makes you feel confident. I think it can be a great tool for people who are struggling. A lot of the times too, I know of people who, now it's something you have to be delicate with, but folks that have had sexual trauma that have been able to work through a lot of that and become comfortable with their bodies and with their sexual selves again through online Cam Girl work, because it creates a safe space and a safe experience where they're able to explore again and, have the comfort of that without actually having to be touched by another person. So it can be really healing too.
So many great points about that. Yeah. I mean, in every way. I mean, you could throw in like, just like the performing aspect, like escaping and, like all the other skills you're gaining too, like the analytical skills, like trying to figure shit out and all this, like there's so many benefits.
Yeah, absolutely. It's given me I've done things I never would have thought about doing, even outside of the aspect, I've taken more chances. I've gotten in the habit. I just recently, and I was at a place where I couldn't quite afford it, but I wanted to take a trip to Colorado. There's this convention that's happening and I wanted to go. And I booked the ticket and I got the hotel and I was like, fuck it, I'll do it. I'm living my life in a way that I never would have done that before. I've reached out to my local now anytime. No, they're probably going to hate me soon because anytime I have the tiniest inconvenience in my life, I'm like, Senator Lee? SOS. But like these are things I never would have done before, and it's definitely it's only improved the quality of my life. Again, there's been crappy days, but you're gonna have crappy days no matter where you work.
Right. Yeah, I don't know, man. It sounds everything sounds good. Of course, everyone's experience is always can be different, but it can't hurt to try.
Right. And I will say I had tried probably, I don't know, maybe 6-7 years ago. I was probably about 21 and I did attempt camming before and it didn't vibe with me. I logged on. I didn't do so well. I just kind of never picked it up. I never got onto it. So I was a little bit more hesitant to try this time. My friend was telling me she actually was catering to the feeder fetish community. And so, she was having a lot of success with that. And she was like, you should try cam girling. You should find a niche like being a feeder. You'll do so well. And I was like, all right, I'll try it. But I wasn't really putting too much faith in it. It blew me away. I think having the right mindset definitely helps. If you're coming to this out of desperation because, you're absolutely broke and you don't have any other options and you can't find a job and it's this or nothing. I don't think that you're going to be as successful as when you're making this choice based out of the actual desire and because you enjoy it. And I think that definitely played a factor into me being successful now versus before.
I think you hit the nail on the head. I think that's it, because like everyone I've interacted with and everything, that seems to be where it's at. Like, because when you're desperate, like it changes your vibe.
Yes.
Like that alone, like people can sense that shit, and you're doing things you wouldn't normally do, and it's a whole different thing.
Yes. You're not yourself. You're stressed out. You can feel it. They can feel it. Makes it less enjoyable for you and them. It just makes it the whole thing. Then you're hating it in the situation, so, and you're not making money. So then it's not even worth it.
100% correct, man.
You're also going and getting a minimum wage job, doing something that you're more comfortable with at the time. And there's no shame in that. If it's not the thing for you, it's not the thing for you. I know tons of people that love, watching cam girls, but who have tried camming themselves and absolutely hated it. So if it's just not your cup of tea, there's no shame in that. But yeah, I mean, it's all about the mindset, I think. And having a coach helped. That played a big factor in having someone kind of guide me through and helping me to look at things in a different aspect than I normally would. Just the shift in perspective was super beneficial.
Right. Yeah, that makes so much sense.
And it helped me with my navigation too. I kind of learned how to set boundaries for myself a little bit more. I think I would have done a lot more catering to other people and less work to myself, which would have made the experience less enjoyable for me in the long run. And that would definitely impact the experience I'm having now too. So I think it's really important that people stay true to themselves first and foremost.
Right. Shit, you should be a coach, man.
I've been thinking about it. I've been considering it. And that I'm always open. There's a lot of people that reach out to me on Twitter, and I try to, I'm very open with the experience that I have. I'm a big believer in, again, there's abundance for all of us. And I don't think this knowledge should be gate kept. Again, I'm so grateful for this podcast. There's been a lot of women on here that I've learned a ton from, and that information is invaluable. A lot of the times you're not going to you can talk about it all you want, but until you experience it, you don't really know. So having someone who's actually experienced it can be super beneficial.
Yeah, it seems like a lot, like all these, like everyone I've been talking to, like they're all congregating now and talking to each other and everything. And
yeah.
And it makes total sense. Like, like the ones that's also the other thing too, is it always seems like the ones that are like, fucking, like, no, I'm not giving you my secrets, bitch. Fuck you. They're the ones that always seem to fail. But the ones like you and all the other girls that are like coming together and fucking, giving each other fucking, whatever you guys are doing, apparently it works.
Yeah. And there's really something, I've made a lot of friends this way. And there's something to be said about having that support and that community that makes it more enjoyable too, right? Like when it's you develop lifelong connections from this, and it's not just necessarily a job that you do.
Absolutely. Yeah. When I was a semi-famous YouTuber, interacting with all of my YouTuber friends with fucking, millions of subscribers and stuff, it made it all more better. Like we helped each other out. We were fucking we knew what we were, we're in a similar situation, and it made everything so much more fun and better. And
yes. No, absolutely. One of my common things is, again, because I'm bisexual and I enjoy sleeping with men, but most of my actual relationships have, outside of one night stands and a relationship scattered here or there, I've mainly been with women. A lot of the work that I do on, my cam girl stuff, it's exploratory too. Although I've, enjoyed a dildo, when I'm talking to you about sucking your dick, I can count on one hand the amount of dicks I've actually sucked. I'm like, for me, it's all about building that connection. And I'll text some of the girls I know, and I'm like, okay, so question for the straights, because I don't understand. I realized that I had never seen an uncircumcised penis. And I had questions. I was like, whoa, because I was like, the handful of drunk dicks that I've sucked were all circumcised, and that's a lot. There's a lot happening in the situation. I'm like, I need to know more.
Right, right.
So the common thing I do is I'm like, question for the straights. Please help a lesbian out because I don't, it's a kind of a joke that we've got going on, but I can't text my colleague that was a social worker these same questions. And I'm more comfortable talking to these other girls that are camming because they understand me. They can break it down, and some things happen that I just don't. I'm like, okay, when people do this, is it attractive to someone who would normally have a desire to sleep strictly with men? I'm like, I just got to know, because if it does it for them, great. I'm like, but it doesn't do it for me. And I just have to, it's something that's, there's a lot of things that are pretty common that men do online that I just have to, I'm like, do you think that girls find that a turn on? Because we don't. We're going to play along for you, but like, buddy, what are you doing over there? And that, so I do sometimes have, and like, question for the straights, is this actually something that you like, or do I just like women more? Like, is anything besides penetration not attractive to me? Am I learning a lot more about my sexuality through this? Like,
Right. Yeah.
like, huh. So it's been like an interesting discovery for me too, but there's something to be said about having that group of people that I can rely on and laugh with. Or when there's a tough day and someone's asking me to be a 7-year-old, I can talk with them about this situation. And number one, they're not going to start attacking the guy, which is important to me because although, these are clients, and I think that they have a right to, when you log on and you're in a private session with a model, or you're even just in a session with a model at all, you deserve a little bit of confidentiality there, as long as, it's, you're coming for it to be a safe space, and I want it to be that safe space for you. I'm definitely no judgment. I can't, I'm not the determinant of what's right or wrong or good or bad. So I can't tell you that the thing that you like sexually is disturbing or wrong or bad. And I'm not going to try to, again, I'm not going to yuck your yum. You're a person, and just because I'm not into it doesn't, that's fine. But it's hard when you're discussing a situation and all of a sudden, oh my God, he's a creep. He's a terrible person. Da, 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 da. Maybe he is, or maybe he's experienced a shit ton of trauma that you don't know about, and he's trying to work through it in the healthiest way that he can find,
Oh, you better be careful with that. You're gonna get canceled. You, right?
Or,
Right?
again,
You
not
can't.
condone it, but it's not something I'm comfortable with, or
No,
not
no,
something
I totally get what you're saying. I just mean,
that.
because like people jump to, because no, that's a perfect point you just made. Like, yeah, like it's okay to think about that kind of thing. We don't have to like, oh my God, canceled. Can't talk
Right,
about it. Can't say anything about it.
right, exactly. It's definitely. It's not something that there's stuff that I'm not comfortable with, but there's stuff that I would definitely rather have you do online with someone who's over the age of 18 and consenting to the action than someone who's not. I feel the same way about rape play. It's something that I'm not comfortable with as someone who's been a victim of sexual assault. It makes me feel unsafe, and it puts me in an uncomfortable space. But I would much rather you act out that situation online with someone who's consenting to that behavior and is comfortable with it than having you go out and assault some young woman in a bar or a club.
Exactly.
Well, you should definitely hire a therapist too, but
Well, but in the meantime,
yeah, right, like baby steps. And I think there's something to be said too when a person recognizes this need or desire that they have and they go about it to try, and no matter what that is, no matter what you like, I think that when you're trying to explore that in a healthy way that's not harming another human, I'd always rather see you do that than cause harm to yourself or cause harm to another, whether that even just be mentally because you're beating yourself up because you think you're a horrible person for liking the thing that you like. Maybe you've just got some shit that you need to work through and you're halfway there. But we have to be kinder to one another and to ourselves, especially in this society. And again, a lot of the times we like the things that we like for a reason. And sometimes that's worth diving into a little bit. Some of the biggest kinks that I've uncovered in therapy, and I'm like, oh, wow. So and it's weird little shit that you wouldn't expect. I like it when you tickle my neck a certain way, and it's because my mom used to do that shit to put me asleep. How weird is that? But, and that's common.
But it's not weird because, like, that, I've always said that. Like, everything stems from when we were kids. Everything.
Exactly. Exactly. And so sometimes, people have discovered they've gone through some repressed trauma working through their kinks and, discovering a lot more than they wanted to about themselves. So you got to give each other grace.
Yeah, you said it perfectly. Like, because I just realized we're almost on 2 hours here. We got fucking, got to cut it off here. That's just crazy. I don't want to take up too much of your time. But I have to say, like you just said about being kinder to people. Now, there's the group of people that are like, oh, that's pussy shit. What are you, woke? And all that stuff. And I was kind of in that realm too. Like, well, everyone's turning into pussies and all this. But just about being kind, like there's nothing wrong with just being kind. There has to be a happy medium, because I always say this with, like, Republicans and Democrats, they're both assholes. But both have good points. And it's the same with quote unquote woke people, or whatever you want to call them, this new generation. Like, there's nothing wrong with being, like, isn't that a good thing, being kinder to people? But again,
Right.
There's some that go a little too far with, like, you can't say jokes, you can't do anything. There's a happy medium that we all should be trying to find, right?
I agree. And one of the things I always focus on is intent. You can make a joke and you can have a conversation, but when your intent behind it is harmful, people can usually sense that. You got to read the room a little bit. And when you're not doing that and you're just out there causing harm for the sake of doing it, I'm like, come on. There's a time when you have to, again, I'm big on giving people compassion, but there's times when people don't necessarily deserve compassion in a moment and they're just being an asshole, and you got to call them out on it. You have to be able to be kind to people, but don't do that at the sake of your own boundaries. You can't be, if someone's just being a dick, sometimes they're just being a dick, and that's all right. You don't always have to dig deep and find out why and what's causing it. It's okay to just block and walk away, or just be like, hey, fuck off and move on with your life. So you gotta, we all, I'm a big, be kind to everyone, but I'm also known for being a little bit of a bitch. And, that's because kindness is not, kindness has limits.
Sure.
And we do have to try and understand one another and be there. But sometimes when you throw out a little bit of kindness and you get spit back in your face, you got to throw your middle finger up and walk away.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I think you said it perfectly. Like, especially like with intent. Like, we all have, like, well, not everybody has common sense and logic, but if you use it, you can find that happy medium.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And you've got to be able to, and there's things that folks do that you're just like, all right, that's not cool. But, again, there's a happy medium that you can find. And I think the biggest, if there is not, if you're not intending to cause harm, and some folks do it without meaning to, which is a whole different story. But if you're not intending to cause harm, I think that's really, the big point there. You have to be able to still enjoy life and take a laugh. You can't be so serious about everything all the time. It's not always life or death. It's sometimes you gotta have a little bit of fun. But
yeah, I think
we have to be mindful of one another too and be kind, because a lot of the times people act the way they act for a reason. We say the things that we do for a reason. All of our behavior is learned through, and it's important to give each other grace on moments like that.
Yeah, we all make mistakes. I constantly make mistakes. I'm a fuck up. But and I love feedback. Like if I'm fucking up or I do something stupid or I hurt your feelings, especially, tell me. I want to know, because especially if it wasn't my intent to hurt your feelings, I feel horrible.
Right, exactly. And that's the thing too. And when you're able to give, like if you do harm by mistake, because God, we've all been there, right? And I'm a totally different person now than I was 10 years ago. I said shit 10 years ago that I am not proud of now and would never, I've said and done things I would never do again because they were just, horrible. But I didn't know any better at the time. And, as we learn and as we grow, that's another thing too. I think that we can't, although, certain actions, we have to give people grace as they grow. Just because someone has done something in the past does not mean they're going to stay that way forever. Someone may have said something that offended you, but you had a conversation with them and now they understand. And they're not, like you said, if you do hurt someone's feelings and it comes to your attention, that's not a behavior you're going to continue. So it's not you being an asshole. And, when we correct those behaviors and grow from them, I think that shows more about who we are as people than the asshole behavior did to begin with. So we do, gotta give credit.
Absolutely. Perfectly said, man. Because, like, I just tell you, 3 years ago, I was a completely different person. I was a psychopath 3 years ago. You know what I mean? Like, with my thinking, like, I don't even, like, looking back today, I'm like, holy shit, how the fuck did I even think that shit? You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, just I don't know.
Same,
We grow,
Exactly. And there's a lot to be said in that. As people, a lot of our behaviors are learned. It's based on, who we hung around with as children, the schools we went to, the environments we've grown up in. And a lot of us are just kind of coming to the realization that we don't actually have to be those people and that we can form our own decisions and opinions. We're coming into, especially, I'm 28 years old as someone who's falling into their 30s. I just really started to figure out who I am a few years ago. And let me tell you, I wouldn't have wanted to know me as a teenager. So I was such a douchebag. So, you got to give, even just a couple years ago, I was horrible. I was unbearable 5 years ago. So,
Right. And like, even if you're, whatever your intentions are and everything like that, it doesn't even matter. But, like, you don't mean to do certain things, but you do for whatever reason. And, like you grow and learn. That's how life is. We grow and learn. We don't know everything. You knew everything when you were 18, 19, right?
Right.
Exactly. Now you look back, you're like, oh my God, what a moron I was, right?
I was saying to someone the other day, I can't believe that they let me operate a vehicle at the age of 16 years old because I was like the fact that I was in control of a 2-ton vehicle. I'm like, it's ridiculous to me. Now I feel like an old person because I'm like, we should be 21 before you have to drive a vehicle. Like, all right, Grandma. But it's Grandma. Oh, God, I was an animal and you let me have a car? Like I had the power to actually like take other people's lives with a 2-ton machine and you're just letting me roll around with that kind of power when I can barely brush my teeth twice a day? Shit.
I know. I was blown away because I'm originally from Jersey and 17 is when you get your license. I was blown away when I heard 16. That's like that's not just a year when you're that young. Like a year is like a fucking lifetime,
Right. When I think about like 16-year-olds now versus 16-year-olds, when I was a 16-year-old, I'm just like, oh, damn. Like, it's just not good. It's not, half these kids can't look up from their phones. And I'm like, oh my God, this is just a recipe for disaster. Stop giving out all the licenses, man.
And plus the fucking destruction of their mental health. That alone fucking just irks me every fucking day. I have a daughter. She's 18 now, but just the fucking to watch it live, like just the past like 4 or 5 years. Oh my God.
Oh yeah. Like it's mind boggling.
It's insane, man.
It really is, and it's crazy. And I'm anxious to see how it's going to end up because it's definitely, it's bringing in a whole new wave of perspective. That is for sure. That is for sure.
I know, man. It's sad in a lot of ways too.
It is. Again, I always feel so old. But like I look back at even just like not knowing how to write cursive And I think about how like fundamental it was to me growing up to like sit and write those really long, dramatic letters as a young girl, or those journal entries about, woe is me and the loves of my life and my big fancy cursive that made me feel like a princess. And you just don't get that same feel through like a cell phone. That's another reason why I think that I like actually being face to face on camera with someone, or actually getting to interact with them through like a cam session, because it makes it feel more personal to me as opposed to like typing to you through a screen. I prefer to answer verbally too, because to me it just makes that experience feel more like it brings that human connection that I think our society is so desperately missing. And even though, it can be still through a virtual computer screen, I think we can really bring the humanity back to it, especially when you're sitting there and you're just an everyday girl who's sitting in their house or hotel room or person rather, who's trying to stream and be with others. That being yourself, laughing with folks, telling jokes, having conversations. I go on and like when I'm having a tough day, I tell them about it. I was doing something the other day and I broke a glass. I like was trying to do too much and I knocked over my wine glass on camera and like spilled wine all over my carpet, broke my mug, got glass everywhere. And I was like, well, shit, guys. So, you get to watch me clean up this wine glass now. Yeah. But there's something, I got so many viewers during that moment because it was like a real, just me being a person cleaning up the broken freaking glass. I'm not here being some, showing my tits and being like telling you what you want to hear. It's just a very real, raw moment of me being annoyed.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of guys like that shit. It's like,
Oh, yeah.
it's real.
Yeah, exactly. It's the humanity. And I don't know. Our society needs to get back to that.
And it could start with camming.
I think it could. And I think that it is. Again, I've made some pretty great relationships. I've made some great friendships, not just with my clients, but with other cam girls and other, models. And it's given me a better experience and relationship with myself.
Hey, I think you're a perfect example for cam girls. Like,
Thank you. It's not, it's so different even than what I thought it was. I have to admit, I came into it with so many expectations and I was completely blown away, by the support, by the profit, by the accessibility of it and the ease. If you would have asked me just, even a year ago, if I'd be paying my bills, doing online sex work as a cam girl, I would have thought you were crazy. I would have laughed in your face and walked away. But here we are. And it's allowing me to spend my time volunteering and studying and going on awesome vacations. So.
I didn't hear anything negative.
No, have I had to deal with a couple weirdos online? Sure. But you know what? I had to deal with weirdos online before this.
Doesn't everyone? Like even girls that don't do camming. My wife fucking shows me all these fucking Instagram, these guys on Instagram that I was just fucking with one last night that, is one of those sugar daddy ones. She sent him to me, so I was fucking with him too. But yeah, I mean, regular girls get this.
Yeah. All the time. All the time. You can't post a photo without someone harassing you in some way, shape, or no matter what you do online, you're criticized. So you might as well profit from it.
Exactly. And even if you don't want to, you don't want to bust out your titties or whatever, like you said, like even with just like live streaming, because I know there's girls that also live stream and they don't get naked and stuff. Like how beneficial live streaming is to like you were saying. I think that's brilliant. That really is. There is something to that.
Oh yeah, I've got a friend. All she does is like play video games. She's really good at them. She sits in her gaming chair, plays video games, and she sells a girlfriend experience. She sits there in like a bikini, but she's never shown her nude body. And I don't even know that she's ever really shown her full face. I think she wears like a mask, but she sells this girlfriend experience. She's got a ton of viewers, makes a ton of money. That works for her. She's got a niche. And then there's one on OnlyFans. I think she's does like naked baking, and she's never shown her face on camera, but she does like she'll actually bake a cake or whatever, and then she gets naked and like has sex in between, and but she's never shown her face on camera, and she's wildly successful. So there's all sorts of different, like, I honestly, I think the more like nichey you get, the better in a way, because you start to attract people who really want to build relationship. It's kind of like a black jelly bean theory. You know, not everyone likes the black jelly beans, but the ones who do love them. And when you can kind of achieve that as a cam girl, it's a gold mine. You know, whatever level of comfortability you're with, whether it's showing yourself nude or not, you can find someone who's going to, you know, maybe painting's your thing and all you want to do is sit there and paint and talk to people, go for it. I bet you'll make, you know, if you can find a niche and you can be your genuine self and be comfortable doing it, you're more likely to make money.
You really should think about coaching, because it's not just the information you have, it's the way you bring it out. You know what I mean? The way you explain it. I think it's
Thank you.
Yeah,
you know, and
you
it's
explain it good. You know.
I've been considering it because I've had a lot of positive experience talking with other girls. And I think there would be a lot to be said if a couple of us got together and did like a little meet the mentors or something type of talk. We used to do those all the time for social work, where newer people would come in and talk to people who had, you know, been doing it a little bit longer. And so maybe we could set up, you know, sessions like that and start to help one another and help other people. As again, there are more people than we can simply account for on our own. There's more than enough, you know, clients to go around. There's an abundance of online sex work and sex work in general. I promise there's a space for you. You know, people tell me all the time, they're like, I can't do it. I'm like, I can name 10 things about you right now without blinking that would make you perfect for this.
Right.
So everyone's got something, you know?
And you're all different. Like you know, you're all different.
Right. Maybe I'll have to see if we can get a coaching session or a, you know, coaching group started. I think it'd be a good idea. You know, and the more that we get into this and the more people who can be comfortable doing this, the more mainstream it will become and the more likely that this will become something that we can actually talk about at a dinner table and have real conversations about instead of hiding it and like all this mystery, making it this big, terrible thing. Once we start normalizing sex, we can start getting to the actual problems that our society has that are far beyond this.
Absolutely.
Who cares how you like to get off? Why don't we get to the fact that, you know, so many of our population are homeless and can't afford to feed themselves? Because that's a bigger problem than how you enjoy having sex, I think.
Right? Yeah, I hope so.
Right. Like, if we can just stick, you know, I just don't get why there's so much mystique behind it. And it's such a negative thing. And all these people are out here hating. And I'm like, look, in just a few months, I've made almost the same amount of money that I made in a year's worth of social work. And my hair's growing back. So,
right. Yeah.
You know, like, oh, it's better for me emotionally. It's better for me physically. And, you know, I've met so many cool people. It's amazing to me. So many cool people. And if I get screamed at now, it's because I'm allowing them to do it and they're paying me for the pleasure. Not because, you know, you're some psycho person and I'm your target of the week.
Right. Well, I mean, what's better than that?
Right, exactly. I've been paid to sit in my hot tub. I've been paid to smoke joints. I've been paid to eat food and take showers and fold my laundry. You can't beat it.
You can't. No,
I've literally made money in my sleep.
And this is probably what those guys are thinking. Like they hear this kind of shit or see this kind of shit, and they're like, "Oh, this fucking bitch! How dare she? I got to go to my shit job, and she's fucking smoking up and making money."
Yep, exactly. I was dating someone for a while when I first started this journey. And she looked at me at one point and she was like, it is ridiculous that I have to go and work 8 hours at this job with people that I can't stand and you've made more money in 2 hours than I'm going to make in the entirety of my damn day. And I don't even like it. And she's like, that's ridiculous. And I was like, you don't have to keep doing it. Just join me. I'm like, no one's making you keep going to the shitty job that you hate. All these people are out here talking about, how we're whores and, how could we ever do this? It's immoral and da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, what's worse? Spending every single moment hating your life and hating your job, or hating your wife and the partner that you're with and not being able to talk about your wants and desires, or me showing my tits to a couple thousand people that are paying me for the pleasure. What's worse?
Exactly.
And the only thing stopping you from everyone's like, oh, I hate the biggest thing that I get is they're like, you're so lucky. Oh my God, I wish I could do that. Well, number one, I'm not lucky. I work hard for it. And number two, you could do it. You're just not. And I hate that sad sack mentality. I'm like, I'm not lucky and I'm not doing anything that you couldn't be doing yourself. The only difference is I chose to take the initiative and make it happen. And you could choose to do that too and take your life into your own hands, regardless of what you want to do, whether it's, online sex work or not. We spend so much of our lives in this position of being, a victim of our own circumstances. And at the end of the day, if you're not happy with your life, the only person stopping you from changing it is you. So,
dude, you have to do these coaching sessions. I'm telling you, man. You're right.
I was completely fucking miserable. I had myself convinced that because I was making, it wasn't the worst money, but it wasn't the best. I was making fair money. I was doing something that was socially acceptable. I was going to school. I was doing all the things that society tells us you should be doing. And I was absolutely fucking miserable. I hated every moment. I was spending countless amounts of money on therapy sessions and medication and drinking and crying and sleep. I couldn't sleep, or I was sleeping too much, or, I was just a roller coaster. And and this is something that allows me to feel good about myself and be free and provide for myself. So who gives a shit what other people, if you don't like that I'm an online sex worker, don't log in to watch me. It's, if you don't like your job, change it. You don't have to do what I do, but I'm sure there's something else that would set your soul on fire that you're not doing because you're afraid of what other people are going to think. And if I worried about what other people are going to think, then, I'd probably be at some stupid job having to get up in, 4 hours to go to work.
Right.
So,
miserable and just...
Great. And I get it's not easy, but it's so easy. At the end of the day, when the choice is right in front of you. And I've had so much freaking fun. So many cool people. I've learned so much. And everyone, you'd be amazed. I feel like I should have had to sign some clauses for some of the people that I have been interacted with through Cam Girl work. Because some of these motherfuckers have no business showing their faces on camera. I'm like, sir, you're important, right? You're gonna, people, everyone, and again, everyone's like, only weird guys or, only weird stuff happens. And it's not true. It's your dads, it's your uncles, it's your brothers, it's your boyfriends, it's your boss, your politicians too.
That's right. Yeah.
Some very, very wild situations, your local radio TV show host that you had been looking up to since you were a little girl, and now you met him in a very, very unexpected way. So, shit happens.
Yeah.
Everyone likes to get off at the end of the day. We hide it. Some of us are doing it by ourselves behind closed doors before marriage, and other people are doing it on a camera in front of, a couple thousand people for money. But at the end of the day, everyone's touching themselves, I think.
Exactly. That's pretty much it, right?
Yeah.
It's perfectly said, man. So thanks for doing this, man. This was awesome, man. But you definitely
fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I love talking to you. I've learned so much myself, and I'm telling you, you definitely should think about doing some type of coaching or even just fucking help, like you said, like helping people out or whatever. Because I mean, you know,
Again, it's, we got to be kind to one another and spread the love. You know, I never would have imagined that I'd be successful doing this, and I'm sure there's a lot of other people that feel the same way, and that's probably the reason that some of them haven't tried, because they're nervous and they think it'd be too off kilter, or, and it's not. If you just reach out, there's people that are willing to talk to you and willing to help. There's loads of other women that are supportive. I've met a ton of them. And so many of us are willing to just like have a conversation and tell you what it's like. And then you can decide for yourselves.
Ain't that the truth? Yeah, man, this is great. Hey, yeah, I guarantee you, anyone that hears you, definitely gonna fucking try that shit at least, you know?
Right. Well, it's worth a shot, and that's what I said. I said I'd give it a week when I first started. I was like, I'll give it a week. And I told myself that if I could make $4,000 in a week, I would consider doing it as an actual full-time gig. And not only did I hit my goal, I surpassed it. And I was like, holy shit, that is more money than I've ever made doing anything else. I had fun doing it, and I didn't have to leave my house or get up early.
Sounds like a win to me.
Oh, yeah. I was like, all right, no brainer. No freaking brainer.
Yeah, man.
I thought about it for probably about 2 days, and then I called and I was like, you know what? I'm doing this, and I'm committing. And I'd love to help other people do the same, because truly it's changed my life. Again, just my mental state is night and day difference.
Seems like it. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to put your Instagram link in all the descriptions and everything, so everyone can, that way everyone can get to you. And on your Instagram is your links to your other stuff, right?
Yep, absolutely. I've got a little link tree on there that's got other accounts, and people can always just reach out to me, send me a message. Sometimes I'm a little technologically challenged when it comes to social media, but, I try to respond to people when I can, and I always just like talking with folks. Again, connection is a big part of the reason I do this. I think it's great just to make other friends and have conversations, even if we don't agree, So it's always just kind of, it's good to chat with other people and get different perspectives and opinions, and maybe make some friends or help someone out along the way.
Can't disagree with any of that.
And you're all bound to learn something.
Yeah, definitely. I'm a big fan of learning. I think everyone should learn. We never stop learning. There's no reason to.
Yes.
All right, Katie. Thanks so much for doing this, man.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This has been awesome.
Yeah. This was a lot of fun. Thanks so much, and we'll keep in touch.
Yes, please. You have a great night. Thank you for your time. I appreciate you.
Oh, same to you. Thanks so much. Take care.
Thank you. Be well.
All right, you too.